Welcome to the Excel Purpose Show with Comstor.
Who actually starts a business with like cat food? Come on.
It's a fun story. I can't wait to share it.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about that. Like, did you begin with the cat poo business like straight up, or did you do like multiple businesses to begin with?
So what happened was I was a student in my final semester at university in 2018, and the community UTS startups opened up, and one of my friends suggested I go and join. And I didn't really have a business idea, but I was getting to the end of my degree, kind of that transitional period of going, I've got some work experience. I've now qualified in a couple of things. Where to next? So what ended up happening was I put my name down for this community because I wanted to run a business at some point, but I didn't quite know how to get there. Didn't really know what the steps were. I knew that, you need to do some registration, there's ABN stuff, but then obviously then sitting down and doing it is a whole other ball game. So finding this community, I was then introduced to a grant that's available.
Okay.
So the Poop Coffee started off as basically a last minute uni assignment.
No, hang on, wait. But why poop coffee? Like, you could have picked anything. You could have picked, I don't know, like a camera business or like a suit business or something else. Like, why? Are you a coffee lover?
Not at all.
Not that makes it looks like so you don't drink coffee.
Well, I have to now, obviously, for work, but no, at the time, and I still don't quite feel I'm at that level of what you'd call a coffee person.
Okay.
I can speak some of the things, but
Right.
if we then go and actually say, oh, what does it taste of? For me, the answer is coffee, but you have to say all the other things like, oh, it's got a hint of floral notes and fruity aromas. And I know these words, but what do they mean? I don't really understand yet.
Yeah, so you're not a typical coffee drinker. Like, you don't drink it daily.
Not at all.
Okay, so then why poop coffee? Where did that come from then? You're not a coffee drinker, so was that like a tongue-in-cheek thing? You were just playing around and then it became like, oh, maybe I should actually do this, or what happened?
So what we originally called the business was Aussie Luwak. So the coffee is called Kopi Luwak in Bahasa Indonesia, and we're in Australia, so Aussie Luwak, very...
That makes sense, yeah.
And the problem is that's not how people know the coffee.
Yes, it isn't, because they just thinking like cat poo coffee or like the possum poo or something. Like, but still, why the coffee luwak though? Like, why that?
Why that business?
Yeah. You can pick all this other stuff. What sparked that one?
So I was very fortunate that in my undergraduate, I got to do basically a subject on exchange in Indonesia through a scholarship.
Right.
So it was basically a holiday paid for. That I was like, oh, no, I'm definitely studying and going to what turned out to be one of Indonesia's quite prestigious universities.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So developed a bit of a network there. And, Indonesia's our closest neighbor. And yet I feel Australians, we don't really know all that much about it. It's kind of oh, yeah, they're over there. But, we tend to favor, New Zealand, US. So going there was just eye-opening. There's 300 million people there, literally hundreds of kilometers away. And just so much potential, which was obviously revealed to me through my studies. So it kind of in the back of my mind when I did the course, I was like, I must do something with Indonesia at some point, but I'm just a uni student. I don't really know what the steps are. But, I've made some friends here. I speak a tiny, tiny bit of the language.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll get a chance.
Well, for me to hear that you're Indonesian, where are you from?
So I'm from Melbourne. My family comes from India.
Yeah. Okay. Can you speak Indian?
Not at all.
So you can speak 1.5 language? Like
not even it's like 1.1. I can kind of, start conversations. Good morning, how are you? But not too much further than that.
Okay. So you did this thing in Indonesia. Were they drinking this like coffee luwak all the time, and that's where that come from?
No. Even on the exchange trip, in my last week of basically when I was running out of money after using up the scholarship money, my friend said, hey, I'm going to Bali, which timed to the last week of my trip. And so basically she'd planned a whole itinerary of things to do in Bali. I was kind of on the main island, Java, where there's 200 million people. Bali's kind of it's a very Australian place to go. I thought I'll get round to it, but I'm doing a cultural trip. Let's kind of go to the slightly less trodden path. So it was her plan to go, oh, by the way, there's a coffee plantation tour. Let's go there as part of the things we're doing. So we get to this coffee plantation, you get this nice tasting paddle of all these different drinks, teas, coffees.
I may have been there.
I think anyone that goes to Bali's
Yeah.
definitely done this.
Yes.
And this was my first experience of doing that. So yeah, when in Bali, do as the Balinese. And at the end of it, it's literally on a big placard going, taste the world famous cappuccino.
Yes, yes.
Well, what do you mean? Why is there an animal on your coffee farm? What's going on here? And I got that explanation of it. Oh, this is the world's most expensive coffee. It's quite famous. Tasted it going, yeah, it tastes like coffee. I don't get it. Why is this $7 a cup in Indonesia where the coffee's from? Didn't really click in 2017.
Yeah, I
$7
feel
a coffee.
I feel like it cost more like $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it was just in the back of my mind, must do something with that.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2019 now.
Because there was more money in it, or?
It was just Australia's got the, fairly objectively some of the best coffee in the world, but I'd not come across this at all. And it was that connection of why isn't this coffee in Australia?
Why is it not available in our country?
Yes.
So you wanted to bring it to us?
No, I just wanted to find out why it wasn't available.
Okay. Yeah.
Fast forward to 2019, I'm now applying for this grant and it says you need to register a new business. The government will upskill you.
Okay.
And then as a result of that, give you some money, give you 9 to 12 months worth of funding to get you up and off the ground. And because I joined UTS startups quite early on in about October, we registered a company then to do with data and cloud stuff. And so it got to the point where it's like, okay, I've now got a new business that I started in December. It's now March 2019. I'd like to apply for this new business grant. And looked at me and said, when did you incorporate? And I gave them the date and they said, no, this isn't a new business. But it's 3 months. No. The cutoff is 90 days. You're at day 103.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
So I was like, well, okay, I want to get the grant to work on my business. Otherwise, got to juggle work and all this stuff. Better start a new business just to tick these boxes. What can I start? Had my network in Indonesia. Hey, remember that coffee? Can we find a way to bring it to Australia?
Interesting. Okay. What was that journey like bringing? What was the journey like bringing this to the country?
Painful. So it turns out the reason this coffee isn't really available in Australia. We're a listed prohibited substance under biosecurity laws in Australia.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, because I'm thinking that, like, I've seen them in the bag before, interestingly. But yeah, how do you get it through custom? Do they heat treat it or wow?
No, these are great questions, which I also didn't know when I incorporated the business for the grant to go, no, I'll figure it out. Let's just get the money. And
because we're so big on like diseases or that, like I can imagine Australia is probably one of the harder places to pass this kind of stuff.
Oh, fast forward to 2024. Yeah, we're the hardest. It's so much easier to send our coffee literally anywhere else except Australia. Going back to 2019, we've now kind of got an agreement with one of the farms, again, through my network to go, okay, your first order must be 30 kilos of coffee. Yep, that sounds like a nice way to start. I know cafes do tons of coffee. And then in the Department of Agriculture's biosecurity legislation, it explicitly says, if you're bringing in kopi luwak coffee, you are limited to no more than 1 kilogram per passenger.
Yeah, fair enough. Because it's personal use. You're not.
You're broadly familiar. And so I'm trying to start a business with a lot more than that. So there was a lot of back and forth with the government going, we have coffee in Australia. Why can't we bring this in? No. Dealing with government, the default answer is no. It's written legislation. It's listed as our specific coffee. So it was a lot of no's initially. And then 6 months of quite unfortunately angry emails. We have coffee in Australia under what? And then, okay. We're going to basically, under these conditions, if there's enough transparency, if there's enough knowledge of basically, as you alluded to, the heat treating, food safety, all of the legislation that says, 1, it's obviously consumable for humans as a very basic requirement, but 2, it's not going to introduce anything to Australia. Obviously, cane toads is the classic example of it. Oh, what harm can this do? And here we are with an enormous problem. So they basically said, okay, if you can show that you're meeting, condition A, B, C, D, which basically means we can only bring in roasted coffee beans. So it's a bit less fresher than obviously roasting it here in Australia. But I think in October 2019, having incorporated in March, they granted us an import permit.
Wow. Amazing. That's so interesting. Like that just persisted in fighting for this thing? Because I feel like this is one of those journey, and like as an entrepreneur and you're, tossing up the different ideas, chances are you could give up in the first roadblock, right? Because it's like, that's hard. It's really tough to go through custom. Maybe it was a shitty idea anyway. Maybe I tried something else, right? And then so how come you persisted in that fight for like that half a year? Because I imagine those emails is not fun receiving to and back, and you're just trying to fight your way through. What really made you like have that drive to go, yeah, this is the thing I want. I'm just going to keep sending these and break you down.
Again, it goes back to that exchange experience. I knew that there's something to be unlocked in Indonesia and more broadly Southeast Asia, having had that experience, being immersed in that culture in just this, very intense way. So I guess it was that kind of one-eyedness. Obviously, anyone that starts a business, you go, oh yeah, in 2 weeks, we're going to be making it rain. It's off to the moon. And then when you actually start, all these things that you just aren't aware of basically punch you in the face.
Yeah, okay. So let's hear about the punching in the face. So it must mean that like I'm trying to picture this thing like on the journey. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see there must be a bit of a demand because you're like in Bali and you're probably seeing like the tourists that are interested in this coffee. So it's like, okay, I'll bring it to the country. So once you started and you got this, like, what's the stuff that punch you in the face?
I mean, as I said, after we got the first shipment, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've now got 30 kilos of very perishable goods.
Yeah. How long do they last?
18 months is kind of.
Okay, I understand this pain because I tried to start a tea journey and it's about the same expiry, 18 months.
It lasts longer, but 18 months is.
Yeah.
You don't want to be going too much further than that.
That's right. It's like the inventory doesn't. Yeah, it's like you're not sure on the freshness anymore, and is the customer going to be happy with the quality, even though it's probably still drinkable, right? So you're running against time. How did you kick it off? Did you do Instagram? Did you do Facebook? Did you walk out the street? What was that?
This is where the name comes back into it. So as part of the grant, I had to do a certificate in micro business operations. And in my course, there was a contestant on that season of MasterChef.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's when I said, hey, we've got a coffee company. It's the world's most expensive coffee. It's called Kopi Luwak. We're Australian. We're going to call it Aussie Luwak. What's the coffee? Why is it special? Why is it so expensive? Look, there's these small animals that look a bit like possums or cats. They eat the raw coffee cherries and then partially digest.
Yeah.
And they come out the other end. So coffee is a fruit.
Yeah.
So what normally happens with regular coffee, you pick the fruit and you depulp it. You remove the skin and you want the bean or the seed inside. With our animal, it loves the fruit. Coffee's its most favorite thing in the world. So it's also, when you've got your favorite food, you expect high standards of it. So it only picks the juiciest, ripest cherries, which happen to be the best coffee beans. So then upon eating the fruit, for reasons still not entirely understood, the bean comes out the other end. And because it's been through the digestive system of the civet, is the animal, the enzymes basically interact with the bean and unlock a flavor that you can't get with other beans, which is why it's so sought after. And because of that, we're obviously constrained on the supply side because we need an animal to do its business, not for us to get the beans. So all of these factors kind of aggregate into the costs of why it's so expensive, why it's so rare, and also why it's so sought after.
Where did the MasterChef bit come into play?
That's where we started. So I was explaining that's why the coffee is what it is. It's the animal's called a luwak in Bahasa Indonesia. It eats the coffee. I was like, you need to call this business the Poop Coffee. That's a silly name for a business. You can't call a coffee company Poop. It's no. People know it. It's Kopi Luwak. It's been featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show. It's been featured on the Bucket List. There's a very nice quote by Jack Nicholson when he's explaining that process of, selection and curation. All right, it sounds really silly to me, but we'll buy the trading as name. Because this is someone that's not in the industry, that's unfamiliar, going, oh, I think this is. And that was that first kind of, that doesn't sound right, but let's see what happens moment. And fast forwarding again, we've now got the coffee. How do we get rid of it? So we go, okay, we've got the Poop Coffee trading as name. We'll add a .com onto it. So now we're the poopcoffee.com. basically what happens next is I don't know how I could have planned it to go as well as it did.
Mm.
One of the most searched terms is why does coffee make me poop?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And we're the poopcoffee.com.
Interesting. Yeah.
Top level domain.
That was never intent. It was just like it just worked in your favor.
I would have loved for this to be in any way intentional.
Yeah.
And so everyone's searching, what's that coffee made of poop? What's that animal that eats coffee and poops? The poopcoffee.com is probably what you're after. So we got to the very top of Google as organically as you possibly could.
It's funny.
Based on this strange suggestion going, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Organically, also pun unintended on it. Okay, so cool. That's really awesome. So then what happened? Did you get way more demand than you had to?
Of course, so 2019, so now it's now 2020, and we know what happened in March of 2020. Plan A for us was hotels, cafes, restaurants. Let's do some B2B sales. Let's shift, even if we do say 10 kilos to 2 or 3 customers. That's job done, product introduced, make it rain. And then we go, yep, let's lock you in for a subscription. And obviously that's the doe-eyed, oh yeah, this is easy. March 2020 happens. Sorry, all the cafes, hotels, and restaurants are shut now.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you already made the connection with these people and you kind of had like contracts set up.
No, I don't know if you can remember that far. And I know I can't, COVID's messed everyone's sense of time. You couldn't just go, hey, let's have a call, let's do a deal.
Mm.
But now with the pandemic, all of a sudden you can.
Yeah.
So we kind of short-circuited what would otherwise be, a 12 to 18 month, oh, let's have a drink, let's meet for relationships, let's discuss coffee, let's see if you're serious, let's vet the farm, let just all these things which we still need to do, but we're now more open to it. We're now more open to doing it remotely.
Yeah, so open. Yeah.
So in hindsight, we could not have picked a better time to start. We could not have picked a better name and a way to kick things off.
And the interesting part is like, definitely in the last couple of years, so many people took up those coffee machines.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have those equipment kind of like ready to go. So how has that journey been like? Are you mainly, is it individual, like people like, just normal people, just everyday people ordering these, or is it more like cafes and them ordering bulk, or do you have what's that ratio
Again,
like?
the nature of the circumstance of when we started, businesses weren't looking to expand their lines. I was just trying to consolidate. It was survive is what they were trying to do. Meanwhile, there's us just growing. Yeah. Because of this, demand, time, and kind of, willingness to try things and a bit of extra cash.
Also bored, right? Like anything interesting, and we were shopping for things left, right, and center.
Oh,
like
the whole sourdough trend that kicked off in that first series of lockdowns.
Right? Like we would just be learning a new skill, trying different things. So that's cool. So you just had people basically what was it like? Run us through the moment of, like your first order coming in and then this happening. Was it just like, oh, I saw 10 orders come through and then boom, like a whole heap came through? Like run me through.
Yeah, so the first order was a friend, and then a few orders were friends of friends, and then the next few orders were still kind of close enough to our business that I could go and deliver them. And then finally we had this one order from, I think it was Western Australia, and it just never occurred. Like, how did they find us? Our website is very simple.
Yeah.
We don't run ads. We're not doing how did they find us? And again, it goes back to that. We just happened to have this magical poop coffee name, which LinkedIn, and were they even searching for us? We hadn't any analytics set up. So it's just like, how did they find, I can't go and deliver this. This is actually something people are looking for. That was that moment. And then I'm trying to think when the lockdown was. That was honestly the best time. Just people were looking for this. And then so we started writing a few blogs and just, again, very, very basic things. It wasn't until about 6 months ago that we actually went, why is there yellow text on white background on our website? How are people actually making it through to checkout? That's how bare bones and simple the website was. And that's kind of one of the big lessons I had. It's if people want the worst version of the idea that you've only half thought up, that's the biggest signal to go and chase. Going back to the why this.
Yeah. So businesses kind of came rolling in.
I wish it was almost like I was actively trying to make the business fail. As at the website, the UX was horrible, the theme was horrible, the text was, just fairly generic. It's like, oh, this is the world's most expensive coffee.
It was saying someone just kind of found you. So then were they ordering like in huge quantity and it just made this business take off? Or
Not to start. And again, this is also kind of one of the interesting challenges or opportunities of the business. So about a third of the sales we get are from the novelty going, I've heard of this coffee, or I'm broadly aware of this coffee.
Right.
What does it taste like? And obviously, once you've had that, oh, that's what it tastes like. A few of those do convert to longer term
like a
clients.
subscription base once they've tried it.
Essentially, yeah, we've had a few repeat orders based on that initial, oh, let's give this a go, and going, actually, I quite
So
like
do
this.
people generally start with like, you know, a pack like this or?
It varies. So as a one, probably the biggest chunk is that I wonder what it tastes like audience. The main audience, well, the audience that we thought we were targeting was that they know what the coffee is. They're looking for it. We're the only ones able to supply it in Australia.
Okay.
And the third segment that we've kind of inadvertently noticed, which is probably the biggest segment, is that I'm not a coffee person, but I know someone who's a coffee person. I'm going to gift them this very expensive, unique coffee.
I have seen this in Australia in like a cafe, but I'm not sure if they were selling it. So are we talking about customers couldn't get the beans on their own? It's like they could buy it in maybe a cafe, but they couldn't get this in their hands?
No, going back to the import restriction, this is a prohibited substance. Unless you have a permit, you can't bring in more than a kilo.
Yeah.
So even cafes, if they were selling it, maybe they had a permit, but the fact that we needed to fight as hard as we did,
Right. Yeah.
suggests
It's a
something.
very, very small store that I saw. It's just like window
Oh,
the
look,
wall
look.
thing. So maybe they
There's
only
ways to
very, very
get
small
things in through
quantity.
customs. That's not
Yeah.
for me to go too far into.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So how do you stop competition then if that's opened up now? Have you
Again,
seen other people bring these in since?
I've found one other person in Australia, and I'm friends with her now.
Yeah.
This coffee.
Yeah.
That's the only other person I know doing it in commercial quantities, and we had that shared experience of it. Oh, did you have to go through these hurdles? Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how I know. I'm fairly confident that they're also doing basically what we're doing.
Yes.
Beyond that, that's also the feedback we've just been generally having. It's like, yeah, I haven't been able to find this anywhere else in Australia. And again, arguably, there's nothing stopping anyone else from doing it, assuming you have a network of farmers, you speak Indonesian, you know how to navigate the government legislation, and then you have the customers on the end of all that.
So where's the business at now? Is that something you want to share?
Sure. Again, obviously, I still feel very new, and I'm slowly, again, I know enough of the terms now to say, yes, this is what coffee is. This is how to talk about it. This is what customers are looking for. This is how to describe it. So we've now had enough sales data over the past 5 years to go, okay, here are the trends. Here's what we're going to expect on a monthly basis from customers, from new customers, repeat customers. If we run an ad campaign, here's roughly what we can expect as a return on the ad spend. So kind of the B2C side of the business is quite nice. But obviously, kind of going back to plan A when we started, how do we now get into hotels, cafes, restaurants is my goal for 2024.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I like the big dreams. If someone else is watching this and they are looking to start their own entrepreneur journey, given your experience, what tips do you have for them?
So there's kind of 3 tips, I guess. The first one is start right now. You can do it. Get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get on Gumtree. Just write somewhere, hey, I'm selling this. Who's in? That's probably my biggest regret, not going harder earlier, just selling a thing that, I also wasn't sure on. You can take pre-orders, you can have wait lists. There's ways to collect money without needing to deliver immediately, which big learning that, again, I'm a little bit annoyed that it took as long as it did for it to click. But yeah, you can start this weekend with less than you realize. Everyone waits for that perfect,
Exactly.
immediate creatives. No, we did it. There's no reason you can't.
Right. Okay. So just start. And then what is the other 2 tips?
Tip number 2 is find your people. That's, again, where we kind of mucked around a little bit at the start, trying to just go directly through government, kind of, trying to kick down the front door. Had we spoken up going, hey, other coffee people, what have you experienced with this?
Yeah. Yeah. Like just gather people to you, like gather the coffee lovers.
And I feel now that I've been in and around the coffee community well enough that I now know baristas, roasters, importers to go, oh, you guys have these challenges too. And yet, like, we're still in a unique level of challenge again because of the kind of coffee we're importing. But at least that's a starting point going, oh no, it's supposed to take this long. It took longer for us because that's how learning happens.
Yeah.
But yes, there would have been a waiting period no matter what.
Mm.
So find your people. And the third one is, again, it's kind of on the networking front, but it was a quote I heard from a keynote speech from quite a big YouTuber in Australia. It's got about 2 million subscribers. And he said, the strongest connections in your network will come from your weakest links. So it's those people that you're kind of, you'll message them every couple of months or on their birthday or for Christmas. It's not the people that you hang out with every weekday or month because they know most of your problems. Hopefully you're open enough with them. It's those people kind of on the fringes going, oh yeah, I knew you were doing something in coffee. And then, you'll share a bit more going, oh, yeah, here's some progress we had. So, oh, let me hook you up with this guy who I also recently met. So, yeah, find your people, keep nurturing those links. They will find their
How
way.
do people nurture the links? You're saying, let's dive into that a little bit, that the weakest link. Are we trying to say we need to educate our weakest link, or what did you mean by
Right.
that?
So going back to how the business started, I did an exchange trip in 2017.
No, I got that bit. No, I meant your third tip. You were saying
Yeah.
your
How to nurture. So again, like we're literally separated by distance.
Yeah.
We've got different time zones, but that doesn't mean we can't connect every couple of months to go,
Yeah.
hey, how's it going? What are you up to now? Last time we were
Yes.
talking about this. And that's all it really is, to be honest. It's checking in, I guess, might be the right word there.
So the tip is that maintain your network by just checking into
just checking in because you never know what people are up to. Where obviously you left them last time, just going, hey, what are you guys up to now? How are things going with that? Oh, you've moved on. I see you're into this now. I also recently met a guy that's doing that. It's kind of those
those
conversations.
just the small touch points. That's actually a really good tip because like I don't think I was watching this YouTube clip the other day where it was saying that like most people aren't really know how to be good friends. So, and that's like from we meet people, but then they kind of like grow out of our life and whatnot. And even the new people that we meet, we're not really like nurturing them and we don't know how. So this is like a tip of like, it is okay that we just reach out to people we haven't spoken to a while and just check in on them.
Yeah, you obviously
like a simple thing.
Not everyone can be your best friend, and that's the thing. It could just be a hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Birthday. Like even that level of engagement is like, oh yeah, they still remember me. I'm still connecting with them, and then it's a bit like Are You Okay Day. Sometimes it's a bit that's more than I expected.
Yeah, because Are You Okay Day is almost just like I'm checking to make sure people are not sad or depressed. But we're saying, oh, we can check in on people, like just their life could be amazing, and we're just checking in with them to see what they're up to. Do you find that your network are or a lot of people just with ideas and so they love connecting? Because how do people like get to that level of conversation? Because I know that most people will be like, when they meet someone, be like, yeah, how you doing? And they just know the job title, right? But they wouldn't go to the extent of, oh, okay, I know something about them that allows me to then connect them to something.
That's a tough one to answer on a podcast, but again, it does start with that. As I said, we're all gonna be on our own journey of figuring out what that looks like for us. As I said, start with Merry Christmas, start with Happy New Year.
Yeah, like the big occasions are
are
the good occasion to at least reach out because those are really welcoming, accepting time, and people love receiving those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not kind of too weird or too awkward. Hey, you remembered my anniversary of my cats. No, like,
it's not so out of the blue that it's like, why is this person sending me this thing? Do they want to go?
Yeah. Just a Merry Christmas. I saw this update. Hope that's all going well. Like, and you can build on that. And then slowly over time, you'll find your version of that. It's not about being right, being perfect. It's about starting, giving it a go and iterating.
Awesome. That's really cool. So if people want to find you or they want to try this, where do they go?
Thepoopcoffee.com, hopefully. Just add .com to the end of that.
Oh, yeah?
And we're actually got a special offer for all the listeners of Excel Purpose.
Okay.
So if we enter the code CALMSFUNG at checkout, we're actually raising prices, but you can lock in 2023 prices until the end of July.
End of July. Oh, that's so in a month. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So what would you recommend them to grab if they were to try something first? Is it beans only, or is there like coffee bag style if they don't have the machine, or they need to, get the grinder? What do they need to have in order to try it out?
So yeah, we've kept it simple as a small business that we either sell roasted whole coffee beans or roasted ground coffee beans, which we can also customize depending on your preference for brewing. We can do fine, regular or coarse, again, depending on your preferences. We are working on some content to teach and educate people who were in the same position as me, going, I know coffee's a thing, I know water's involved, but what are all these steps in the middle? So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Cool.
I'm also going to share what I've learned because I'm still a beginner as well.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, I'd love to try this out and see how it compares to the one I had on holiday.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Excel in life, live your purpose, be free.